Lord. Welcome. I'm Karenann McDonald. I want to thank you for joining me. I've got my Friday Frequency Fridays, if you haven't seen that. And one of my favorite guests and friends I like to introduce is Dr. Richard Allen Miller. As you can see, if you want to learn more about Rick, he's at richardallenmiller.com. He's going to be doing some incredible things coming up with a bunch of people I know. It's called the Beloved Shasta Ascension event. So if you guys are in the area, it'll be August 28th, 29th, and 30th. And they'll be starting with an opening ceremony at 333 on August the 27th. So you'll be seeing Rick's actually at the top of the, I see you're at the top of the speakers there. So we'll be having people like Carrie Cassidy, Ishmael Perez, Alex Collier is going to be in there. Another friend that's been here and up visiting me, which would be Brett Lauder. A lot of people are going to be in here. So if you have the ability to jump in, take a look at it. It could be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of information flowing back and forth, and there's going to be a whole bunch of workshops. So that's available. Also, if you have any interest in taking a look, there is a phenomenal amount of interviews, but more so any of the different books and pamphlets and anything in Dr. Miller's got an incredible store. It's going to talk all about comfrey. You're going to talk about not only the ascension, but he's got a massive amount of books, and there's about 100 and close to 50 on the way in. One of the new ones we'll be talking about is the family farm, which is what's going to be doing for sustainable living, not only for us and the children coming up. And so I want you to take a look at this, because also inside he's got some freebies for you guys, stuff on herbs, spices, botanical cash crops here. And he's got everything for every one of the different growing zones and stuff like that. So do take a look here. If you want to get in that sustainable life ship, lifeboat, whatever you think is going to happen, you'll want to take a look at this and look at what he's got some templates up here for setting up for sustainable foods and retreats, livestock, aquaponics, heirloom seeds. He's done it. You name it, he's done it. Come take a look at it. You'll see a lot of the stuff that they're also working through in Princeton at the demonstration farms that they're now setting up. This is a very exciting thing for the children. And of course, if that's not enough, he's going to give you some free bonuses, right, Rick? You got nature, you got a clinical handbook of herbs, and then of course you got all your different stuff. And we'll talk about your Oak Children project as well. And lots of books here. You were with the Navy SEALs, you trained them, and you've invented a lot of technology over the years and all the stuff to do with ESP. And you've taught a lot of basically different courses here for people to start focusing in and getting lots of power tools. And we'll talk a little bit about that diamond body, because I'm really into the biofeedback and how voice can be used in synergy. Well, you're the original synergist. You coined it, didn't you? So without further ado, that's where you guys can go to find a little bit more. And it's up to you, Rick. Now, you called me.
Hi. Yes, I
You
did.
called me many times. You sent me many letters, but
It's crazy what's happening right now. And I know I
yeah.
don't know. That's the part that really bothers me, is that I know I don't know. And I know that I probably will never really know what actually is happening. Like with the AI on the internet now, I can't even tell what's real anymore. And I'm pretty good at that.
Can you talk a little bit about what your thoughts are? Because I mean, I follow Aaron Brockovich. I'm always putting on, and Christina Lake is really close to me. It's within an hour and a half. I've seen the damage to do with the AI centers. There's no such thing as clean eco return. It's not a water neutral. When you're going through millions of gallons, we're seeing people, their water is
It's going to turn our planet into
turning black. Yeah, the water's black. They can't use it.
Yeah. Well, the AI is an artificial life form. That's what it stands for. And I did the first public demonstration of that back in 1972 at Claremont. I worked with a 360 out of the University of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
That book, that is the diamond body. When I moved the Menninger Foundation from Topeka, Kansas to the University of Washington and added audio or video feedback systems. And that was the birth of cymatics, what we call sacred geometry. We realized that there were certain geometries that I was working under Dr. Carl Schleicher at the time for Navy intelligence. And then in 1979, I used Mora and Endomet, German acupuncture equipment, on the forehead using waveforms, and I broke a code. And that's when I discovered it was your immune system's response to a drug that got you high. And that's where I realized that the high wasn't for escape or recreation. It was actually as a tool in a toolbox where you can do things in those states you can't do with conscious state. And will be the third book. That's, by the way, that book is called Electromagic, like
Okay.
on forehead. And then from there, I created a wormhole and took 12 NASA scientists to Mars using the sacred geometry and the neurotransmitters that I discovered how to release them using geometry in your mind's eye. And that then created a wormhole where I took 12 NASA scientists to Mars in 1983. Now, what happened is NASA is now training the Saturn I team because Saturn has exactly the same geometry I use, which means basically our solar system is a life form. And if you don't think NASA doesn't want to know where that wormhole goes right now. And there's a new movie out that just came out called, I forget what it is.
Illusion. The
Yes,
illusion.
thank you. And I did that work back in the 70s. I have when I was at Princeton under Roger Penrose, he had just written The Geometric Universe. And what I did is upgraded his little bright student, way back when, called the dodecahedral universe. And it's all my interest in studies in magic and the occult, trying to unhidden things that are worth studying in physics. And that's where I made those discoveries about the geometry and sacred geometry in the universe. I have those papers. If you'd like to post them on your website, I can send those to you later if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put a little bit of the trailer while you're talking about this, just for some visuals in the background, because
it just adds a little more depth for those that are interested in getting further into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The problem, what happened to this? What are you doing? Oh, you're doing some videos.
I'm doing some video. That's what I said. I'll put some in the background because this is actually this whole entire movie about the semantics and everything you're talking about covered everything that you basically have doing. I'm surprised you weren't one of the ones he interviewed, but
that's because nobody's heard of me. And right now I'm being kept on a short choke collar. Basically, I have no incomes because I get Social Security. I don't get federal reg because I'm basically a civilian that works for the military. I'm a physicist.
right.
And I have tenure in anesthesiology. Hammeroff was a child and yet they're giving Hammeroff credit on my microtubule discussion.
Right.
We were doing at the University of Washington, we were charged with trying to understand if acupuncture was valid or not. That was under Nixon. And I made a discovery that there's a subtle body outside the physical body with microtubules in it that at the moment of death, there's a 5-gram weight loss in the physical body, and that's structured water that goes back home. And that I was working under Jerry Pollack at the time, and this is all part of my resume in the back. But my concern is that I think that children are probably the single most important natural resource man has over tires, oil, timber, whatever. And they're the ones that are going to save this earth. And if that's so, why would we want to send them to school to become us? And so I'm setting up a university up in the Okinagans, similar to Waldorf that I mentor for. But this one is going to be allowed to mutate as by individuals rather than being rigid in terms of what I think should happen, because I know I don't know. I was a gifted child and had to go through all of the crap that goes on in normal education. And today, what's happening in our school system is it's with intent. How could people in primary allow children to start working with AI it's like having sex or drugs or voting? They're not mature enough for that. And even older people don't know what they're doing. Look at how it's changing everything. Isaac Asimov, but way back when I was doing what I did, had roles of engagement with iRobot, and none of those are being followed by anybody. It's a wide open cowboy move, and it's going to be the end. Or I'll put it this way. I got to center myself because I'm really upset. Um, Homo sapien is a lesser entity to Homo neanderthalis. Now, everybody says Homo neanderthalis is extinct.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, it had 3 rings in the DNA, not 2. 2 Russian scientists are quoting from my work that was classified top secret way back in 1973 when I wrote embryonic holography, which was another paper I presented at Claremont. I
Mm-hmm.
did I did the artificial intelligence. That was called Project Paraphile, and that what they did is they classified my embryonic holography paper, and that's now been almost 50 years. It's been considered top secret without release, and that's why when I rewrote the paper from memory and published it before they could classify it, 2
Mm-hmm.
Russian scientists are quoting from that and are doing alien DNA studies on that right now. And my mentor, Dr. Stanley Krippner, thinks I'm going to Stockholm. I don't care about that. What I'm worried about now is the end of Homo sapiens, where this is the study I did went back 5 epochs, and every 12,000 years there's a magnetic pole shift. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if time isn't real, what does that mean? That it's that precision. That means we get to a certain level of waking up or awareness, and they wipe the petri dish. And Homo neanderthalis, because of the 3 rings in the DNA, which is what we're talking about now,
Mm-hmm.
that entity could do things man will never be able to do. From my point of view with the alien DNA studies that we're working on right now. And basically, I now believe, I can't prove it, and I don't know if it's actually really true, but as a metaphor, we're being milked like dairy cows as a lesser entity. And while God might love us, like you might love your dairy cow, what happens when you're too old to produce milk?
You put out to pasture or taken out or put to the butchers,
And if you're
right?
hungry, you know what? Okay, as a metaphor, and imagine what you and I are doing right now, what a farmer in England might think about what we're doing right now 100 years ago. Beyond his comprehension. And what we're talking about, that's a time thing, which means that there's something else going on here. And I know that I don't know. It's as if we are in a dream within a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Lucid dreaming has more content to reality than consciousness does.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up the 3 ring DNA because a lot of people have never heard of even 3-stranded DNA or the 3 rings of DNA. That was a white pie thing I got into with Sergeant Broussard many years ago, right? Because of course,
We have a double ring in our DNA. And the
yeah,
double ring is what led me to write the holographic concept of reality,
yeah,
where instead of using space and time, which are constructs, the more you know about one of the 2 variables, the less you know about the other. That was Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. You couldn't get there from here. And now I did mine holographic, which was based on information with a double helix ring. Imagine what would happen if you had 3 rings in the DNA like Homo neanderthalis had.
yeah,
Now, with that,
amazing stuff. Yeah,
yeah, they're way more evolved, and there's more going on than we can possibly understand. And what we're doing now is the studies on blood types. Like that's where medicine is broken, for example.
hmm
And they say one size fits all, and everybody's heart rate should be the same, but it's not just based on blood types alone. They're always
and I'm aware, like when I took my medicine, anatomy, physiology, and also my nursing, 42 years ago. I mean, they basically told us 8, and then okay, so well, there was this null thing, but they didn't really elaborate. And then when I got into it, and I started looking at the rare blood bank that they were storing in Europe, I realized that there was over 60 types of blood. We had Terrarian blood, and then we had basically augmented. Whether they were using
well,
through
like rhesus negative. Where did it come from?
Aggie. There
Just
we go.
out of nowhere. And
Yeah,
I'm all negative. Imagine what I might think about am I a hybrid? I don't know. What I do know is that I care about humanity, and I'm seeing the end of it where we're going to go back to the Stone Age. And the
Right.
bad news is, if I don't do something and we all start doing something immediately, within 4 generations, when we're all gone, those kids are going to be in the Stone Age because of their so dependency on their AI and cell phones. Shortwave. That's what you need to get now.
Now, you haven't studied quite a bit of this, and you had talked as well that you had, given papers like to several of the presidential committees and stuff many years ago. But the pole shifts, which we call like the future maps, like I said, I know there was a bunch of things that just started up again. We had a huge eight, point zero whatever, almost 8.8 whatever
Well,
people downsized in Russia, but it again started up, and now there's stuff back on that whole ring of fire, the Cascadia. Things are moving. There's ash spewing. There's no question, and we're feeling mini quakes along our fault lines here, just in the Nelson, Kootenai, Okanagan, and Kootenai areas up here. And I remember being in the prairies actually feeling these shakes. Now, were they direct energy weapons? Were they the dumbs being blown up? I mean, all the above, right? Because you and I were talking, I'm in a fire zone right now. They use the term wildfire, but it's not really wildfire. What we're talking about is direct energy weapon. I have seen some of these beam weapons myself come down many times, and they can be just totally columnar. This is not lightning. This is totally columnar, right? And I'm just like,
I don't know if that's true or not. What I do know is right now, today, there are more people on Earth than all throughout history. And with that said, it would be like sugar ants invading your kitchen. What would you do?
well, what do you think we should do? I mean, that's part of the question. That's why with your expertise
And then
setting up these things in the Okanagan, you
yeah,
know, when, where? This is people that are interested, would like to move, do a, eco community, an intentional community. Is this where we want to get people like yourself or contacting people? They can contact you directly. Is that an option at this point?
here's the deal. I know that I don't know. Every place I know, I have bunkers everywhere, and I'm a networking. And the problem is, every place I know has a positive, a negative, and an unknown. And like when you go to Dulce, for example, that's got a nuclear power plant. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I wouldn't want to be near that. I mean, I've always been, because of all the stuff that I did at Project Ascension, and this is going back over a decade. We were filming, like we were just, doing this back like, a dozen years ago. And one of the things that was really put through is that the dumps were not going to be safe because they were actually created man-made artificially with synthetic materials, as opposed to what a lot of the different vets and people in Black Ops that I talked to said, take a look at what some of the Star Nations have done with their pit houses, which are basically sunken earth ships, and they would have a much better chance, which is, I mean, I'm seeing right now, almost everything is at 10 kilometers right now, which means that it's a dumb transit level 1, right? As opposed to level 2 and 3.
When there's no petroleum, there's roads are blocked or walked out, like Highway 101. You take a look at the future maps of America or North America,
Yeah.
and pretty gruesome. The East Coast is going to lose some land, and it's going to gain some land. And when you gain land, gain mass, that's just as bad as losing it. And so there's going to be a large amount of loss of life. There is going to be no delivery systems of just-in-time food delivery where people have food available. So yes, there's your map of North America. Look at what's happening down there. Future map of North America. That's the Great Lakes. The United States gets cut right down in half with the Mississippi and the Missouri chain. Florida disappears, and yet North Carolina and some other places down, yes, then there gain mass. Look at what happens to the West Coast in California. I mean, and now this are all just guesses, and they're by different people that each, and what you do is start to take a look at where your fault lines are, like the Juan de Fuca fault line.
Mm-hmm.
Juan de Fuca fault line up there in Alaska is basically that volcano in in Anchorage has now started throwing lava, like Mount Rainier. And when Mount Rainier goes, that's the end of Seattle, because that fault line goes right down through the center of downtown Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's talking about it.
Well, we do. But the other thing that's very interesting, not only there do we have the fault lines, but what a lot of people don't realize is that we have massive amounts of volcanoes. There's like 7 volcanoes, and even just outside of Vancouver, up into here, that's the other thing that is unsettling for a lot of those areas, or even like Kelowna, where these, direct energy fires have been happening as well in that area. That whole area is still built on volcanic. We have some volcanic stuff here, even within, different areas of the Okanagan, Kootenays, and stuff like that, So I think that's where a lot of people in there. But having said that, these resets have gone on. It's kind of like watching Jupiter ascending to me, quite frankly. But one of the things I find is it gives us the opportunity to go back and do, as opposed to the resetting it to set, reset or whatever, is that we have an opportunity to actually co-create this again. And we have seen such a, I guess, industrialization, weaponization of the food, the water, the air, the land, that those people that will still be holding natural and nature's law, going back to tribes and clans and original customs, usages, and laws, that it gives us a lot of opportunity to do this for the children, because there are very few of us that still have, I think, that integrity and that connection
Well,
back to the mothers or motherlands.
and I'm not making judgment. What I'm going to try to do is do my part of what I think is correct by trying to at least leave some footprints for the children. That's why I'm writing that one book, because that's a demonstration farm that can be cloned. And I'm going to say that if you can produce 40% of the food you consume with your gardens or whatever in the community, then you have other things to barter for your pineapple or other things that you'd like to include in your diet. The thing that's happening is it's not about money anymore. It's not about silver and gold. It's about food. You have 3 minutes for air, 3 days for water, and 3 weeks for food is a metaphor. And when the food runs out, do you think that that those kids in high school that turn into zombies are going to not raid the high schools and the shopping malls and other places like that for things and food? That's what we call a sustainable life, building your farm and protecting your family. And this book I'm putting out has, chapters for Canada, Alaska, and the different 6 regions in North America. And
Right.
that's a demonstration farm. And we've got them now in 4 locations across North America. And I'm trying to develop more of them as demonstration farms where people can come in and clone what this farm is doing for their own local region. And the book I'm going to have has a bunch of chapters with resources. I'm going to try to go back to herbal medicine, because herbal pharmacy, because I used to be a raw material supplier to all the big farming houses.
Right.
And aspirin, cetosalicylic acid is made from aspen leaf and aspen bark. And it turns out aspen leaf and bark, also unrelated, has natural buffers. And it seems like there's something more going on when you find dimethyltryptamine in crabgrass. It's like a delivery system from God. It's not even about chemistry. There's something else going on here. And I'm concerned because I'd like to see man have a chance at a 7th epoch. This is a 6th epoch. Is that making sense, sort of, kind of?
Yeah, actually, I've learned permaculture and biodynamics, and I grow heirloom, even in where I am right now. Actually, I was just out doing the yard before I came in to see you. But, I've got containers, even if, areas are rough, like stuff, a lot of things in the mountain areas here, the Kootenays, where we've got lush, spring waters and stuff like that. Sometimes it's a little too rocky. So there's always the ability to do what's called container gardening. So even up front, I've got like tomatoes and lettuce,
My partner in New Jersey, these are the freebies that are on there.
yeah.
I need people to buy my books. I'm prepared to give you more than you pay. And when you go into Canada, that's why landing a book up in Canada, but I have a lot of ebooks.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do is get the information out to you so that you're prepped to cover yourself for what I think is important, and then what other things crop up. I'm trying to, and donations. That's my mentor, Stan Krippner, by the way. I wrote him up in tribute to Stan Krippner. Yeah, thank you. That I'm flat broke, and I'm worried about not having enough money to publish first printing on my book. And Comfrey now, that one right there is one of 360 PDFs. The next book I'm coming out with is a 15-volume crop selection on different crops that you could grow for barter. And that's going to be 15 volume. And Comfrey is one of them. How I discovered Comfrey, for example, was that the feedlots in Osaka are 50-story buildings, and the cattle never see the light of day. And the cattle are rampant with disease. And when I mixed a 60% Comfrey pellet or cube with 40% alfalfa, it eliminated all the diseases in the cattle. It took care of it. It was a whole food. And that's why. But Comfrey is very difficult to establish. Once it's established, it's got a taproot that goes down 18 feet. And the leaf is 26% protein with amino acids, lysine and allantoin, that are missing in almost everything else as essential amino acids. So it's a perfect cattle feed or animal feed or whatever you want to do. Like you dairy cows, I'm guessing we're being farmed as well. And we get to a certain level of waking up where we realize something else is wrong here. And that they wipe the petri dish or something wipes the petri dish. I had a single tour at Groom Lake. Wasn't part of my tour. I mostly did paranormal studies for the military. And it was Krill that asked for me. And I went in 1974, just before she disappeared. And I used to think that exchange was a moment where she was my future programming me. But I don't think that anymore. I think now that Krill is an advanced AI of one of the wealthy people that made a bargain with Force Space, if that made sense, for immortality.
Okay, Dr. Miller, what we're going to do, I'm going to put this as a part one. And so we'll do a part two that you can follow up. And we're going to follow up a little bit more about what you talk about. I think we'll go into the biofeedback part. And as you talked a little bit about krill, that was really the development of direct energy weapons and targeting individuals that we know as well, and voice to skull. So I think we'll do that in a few minutes. So if those people would like to join us, anyone that wants to get a hold of Dr. Miller, again, this is his contact here. You can go to richardallenmiller.com, and there's a donation button there. There's also a how-to consultations, because again, if you would like to have Dr. Miller come in by Zoom or at one of your live events, or look at any of these sort of things, or consider being part of these intentional communities that he's looking at setting up with his expertise, please give him a call. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. I'm Karenann MacDonald, and if you have any questions or would like to get a hold of me, I'm at clanmother13@gmail.com, and we look forward to hearing from you. So it's been great. Thank you. And we are going to do that. Yeah, we're going to, what I'll do is I'm going to do a part two. And so give me a few minutes and about 5 minutes to download this, and then we will be able to send you that link. So just hold tight for about 5-10 minutes, and you guys join us right away. It'll be coming right up.
Bye-bye.